And now very excited to introduce Barbara Alves of FEMBA 2026. So Barbara is in her second year of the program, about to start her first, not too, maybe in a few months, right? Or September, I guess. Feels like later in the year. I don't even know what month we're in. So Barbara is here today to talk about her career so far and how her career has been empowered by her experience at Anderson so far. And I just want to thank Barbara for being here, sharing her experience, and also for being such an active student at UCLA Anderson. Barbara is definitely involved. She's on our FEMBAssador leadership committee, as well as part of our FEMBA council, and is VP of FEMBA relations for Women's Business Connection. So Barbara, I'll hand it over to you to talk about your experience.
Thank you, Christy. Before I start, I just want to have some disclaimers. I've been pretty sick with the flu, so if I stop and take time, you guys apologize me.
Oh, don't worry about it. Please take like pauses, drink water,
Yeah,
whatever you need. I'm so sorry to hear that. And
it's okay,
thank
but
you
I
for
also
still
did not,
being
yeah,
here.
I did not want to miss this. I didn't
Oh,
want you to because I knew you were gonna be like, don't come.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
first time in 5 days that I put a blazer on, Nicole, and makeup. So bear with me. Hopefully, I'll be able to help you out. Second thing to let you know, I did not know what Chrissy was gonna say, so I'm repeating some of the stuff. You'll see, just like it is true what she's saying. And third, Chrissy, Debbie, I know I have like 10 minutes, so feel free to interrupt me if I'm talking too much. We can move to the next slide. So basically, I wanted to start with a little bit of who am I, and I wanted to do this in a little fun way. I think like one of the things that UCLA Anderson has is like knowing people for who they are and not their careers, which is really funny. Like we are here to improve, to grow in our careers, but I'll tell you that I had friends from the program that I did not know what they worked on until this year. And this is not because we don't talk about work in our program, but because they became my friends before being someone that I would talk about like career with. So I wanted to start giving you a little bit of who I am. I'm from Brazil. This is where the accent is from. This is where this beautiful landscape on the top left, there you are seeing. I'm obsessed with my dog, which is silly, but this is Lumi. She's gonna turn 9 years old. She came from Brazil with me. I joke like she came from the streets of Brazil to Hollywood and Santa Monica. She's like, I know, like a success story, and this is all I can give to her. I pretend to be an athlete. I love everything. I'm not good in any of them. Like I try to surf, I try to do triathlons. I'm a little bit all over, and I think that's what kind of like keeps me going. So 5 days without any sports because of the flu is not being okay. Um, and then giving you all like a quick overview of my timeline and my career and kind of like what brought me to UCLA Anderson and where I am right now. Back in 2014, I started my career at Decathlon. Decathlon is a sporting goods company with headquarters in France. I started as a trainee there in France, to then be sent back to Brazil, to kick off one of their projects of expansion in the country. I'm an engineer as a background, industrial engineer. A lot of my friends don't believe that, but yes, I am or was. And then at Decathlon, I had the perfect industrial engineering job. I would like help with product development. I was managing supply and factories. But then I understood that environment was not as creative as I wanted. And then in 2016, I took an opportunity at Google in Brazil. But the difference that I always like to tell, especially with like an American audience, is that in Brazil, Google was not that big as it was here back in 2016. I did not know anyone that worked there. I did not even understand what working for Google meant. But I was like, okay, fun. I might try something different because like I was tired of my other job. So I took the chance and I was allocated at a role within like a team that I was taking care of like marketing development. So a lot of what I did was like events, workshops, and I kept questioning myself. I was like, what an engineer who used to produce kids bike is doing here, building events and workshops. But it was amazing. I learned a lot. And from that, I knew I wanted to go closer to product again, but more in the tech world. At Google, I started like participating at the Women at Google ERG that we had. I became the Women at Google Brazil lead. So that was always part of what I wanted to do. And it was all about like my connections, my community, and how those women also helped me, like sort of like to what Chrissy was saying, being humble. I knew that there were things I did not know and I wanted to learn. And I feel that that community sort of like helped me a lot. And I had a lot of mentors there. So in Google Brazil, I moved to a team that was product partnerships, was there for a little while, and then I knew I wanted to move to explore living in another country. I've always liked LA. I don't know why. It's not that it was a place that I had always gone, but I was able to find an opportunity here. I was actually invited to step into a global lead position at Google LA, and moved here in 2022. And that's sort of like when my story starts on why and how I got to UCLA Anderson, moving countries, being like the only one in multiple situations. So I was like at Google Brazil, I was already a lot of times the only woman in the room. Here, I was not only a lot of times the only woman, but I was like the only person with an accent, the only immigrant, the only many other things. Like I remember my first team meeting here in the US, and people were talking about NCAA and like college sports. And I arrived home, I was like, what the F is NCAA? I had like no comprehension of anything, for example, college sports or other like small talks that people were having. And for me now, it's quote unquote easy to talk about this time, but my first 6 months here were really difficult. Like at some point, I thought I couldn't even speak English, that my accent sucked. I like went for a professor and I was like, you need to teach me how to speak a better English. And he was like, that there's no way, you are not like a native English speaker. This is as good as you're gonna get. You just need to get confidence. So I understood that like part of my bag that I'm carrying around, I had to find places that would help me build this confidence. And that's when I started considering going to business school, because I was like, I need both to have tools and on like what is this culture that I'm in. And by that time, I was 100% in love with LA already. I did not want to go back to Brazil yet. So I was like, if I want to stay here and I want to feel I can be more connected to myself and to my community, I need to learn more about that. So business school came a lot on that area for me, like be exposed in a place that like gave me the opportunity to learn from other people. Second thing is like I knew I needed the skills also to talk business, not only in English, but like being in those rooms that I was the only one and feel confident that like I had enough skills, and that like I understood and had the courage to be myself. So I was like, okay, yeah, MBA is the answer for that. So I was a round three applicant for FEMBA back in 20, I think. I don't even know when I applied. I think 2020, early 2023. Got in and started the program in August 2023. My favorite FEMBA thing that I tell everyone is Feel Week, which is your first week that you immerse yourself for 8 hours, 5 days in the week with everyone in your class. And I was like just amazed by I'm giving a spoiler of my next slide, but like I was very amazed by how different everyone I spoke to that week were. So my class, we are 185, I think. And everyone I spoke to, probably I spoke with 150 that week, was completely different from one another. Not only like personality, background, but also like what they did. Some careers that I was like, I don't even know what you do. But anyway, so I joined UCLA Anderson. I'm a very formal person and I love to say yes to things. So my first year, I joined multiple clubs and I was like, okay, not taking any leadership, just gonna sit and be here and participate. So I was part of many, already part of FEMBA Council and FEMBAssadors. Also WBC, I was director of FEMBA and AMBA relations. So that's basically like, that chair is basically the people within the clubs and associations that make sure that we connect FEMBAs and AMBAs to all of the Anderson opportunities. So to what Chrissy was saying, like we have access to all of the clubs, all of the events, all of the career like workshops that the full-timers have, but it's important to always have like someone from FEMBA and NEMBA to be the voice, to remember people that like, we have classes Tuesday, Thursdays night. Can the event be Wednesdays or other days? So I always liked everything about community building and being the voice of others. So I think that's where kind of like where I was. And then at some point in my journey, I knew I wanted to leave Google. It was a very difficult moment for me because a lot of my colleagues around me actually wanted to go into tech and were prioritizing Google. But for me, I was already almost for 9 years there. And similarly to what happened to Decathlon, I was like feeling I was ready for my next step, but I wasn't sure what that next step is. And that's also where like kind of the program really, really helped me. I don't want to give a spoiler for my next slide, but anyways, I'll tell more about that in my next slide. But I understood that I wanted to quote unquote go back to sports because that's where sort of like my career started at Decathlon. And it was really tough because it felt like I was taking a step back. So with a lot of conversations, I'm doing this program called Leadership and Anderson that I'm going to talk in a little bit. And also like self-reflection, which is something that I think that this program gives us in the beginning when we start applying for it. And there is someone in this call that I spoke to after an event that we had, and she mailed me that she was going to be here. And she's like, this process has been amazing because I'm thinking so much about who I am. So I think like that helped me conclude that I was like, okay, I want to go back to sports, but I did not know how. I did not know what the sports industry here in the US was, what I could do, where I could go. And I was lucky enough to be here the same year that Andy Campion, former CFO and COO of Nike, came here and is here right now to kick off the sports business program. So that opened a lot of doors that I'm going to tell you all in a little bit. But end of story is that late last year, I got a role at the US Olympic and Paralympic Properties, which is the commercial arm of LA28. So it's basically the company within LA28 that is responsible for getting all the sponsorships and most of the revenue that we're going to have for the games. The US is one of the only countries that can deliver the games without counting on like federal and like public resources. So I'm on that team that closes sports partnerships in the industry. In these pictures, you have my welcome kit, the time that I stepped into the SoFi Stadium place where people play. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy. And I had to pretend I was not because everyone around me had already been there. And the last one is our Christmas decorations. So we can go to the next slide. I'm going to try to go fast here. So basically, I wanted to just give a highlight on everything that I got from being at UCLA Anderson. For me, authenticity is my main value in life. And this is also something that I learned on my Leadership at Anderson program. But I think that I can say that our school is very authentic. So here I said like diverse is a little bit of what I said to you all before. Like you will meet people that are from so many places, so many different point of views. And everyone at some point like feels very welcome just to be and to give what they can to the class, to the community, and to all of that. The values that Chrissy showed in the previous slide, those 3 values, they are real values. Sometimes like you see companies and places having values, but it's just to say. Here it's not. Like you literally see the students, the faculty, the administration, everyone kind of like being that. And it's not that people are trying, it's just that people are that way. And also that each journey matters. I think this was something that I realized when I was like debating, oh my God, should I leave Google if everyone wants to go to Google? But it's like you learn from your support system, which is also one of the topics I have here, that your journey is your journey. There is no stepping back. There is no like being more or less, but like everyone, okay, we need to wrap up. Wait. Okay. Anyways, 2 more minutes. Other things that I got from here, network, which is of course something that you really, really get from an MBA when you're thinking about an MBA through the club. So as Chrissy was also saying, I've been part of WBC since my first year, and that like has been amazing. You get to connect with people from outside of your program. The events that they host are amazing, and you get kind of like your community. We have this recent build program that we call Women Connect, that we have small groups for people to talk about different topics. FEMBA Council, case competition that you meet people you never met. You build your village. Here, I like at UCLA, I built my LA family. Like I literally had my friends from Anderson today sent me soup because I'm sick. So like these are people that I'm gonna take it for my life. And we kind of like all trauma bond because you're working and studying, and people just get very connected. And then for support, I've been like, we have this leadership at Anderson program that you have a coach that will help you through your process, which has been really useful and good for me. You can be very open, no judgment. Parker is our career center, which helped me a lot, like in conversations and trying to like find my path to my next step in my career. And the administration team, like I had some conversations. I don't know who here met Dylan Stafford and Chrissy, but like go talk to them when you're in your process. And if you get to FEMBA as well, because they can help you like just go through it. And finally, my inspirations, like the professors that we have here are amazing. I gave the example of Andy, but like the guest speakers, I've seen Karen Rozoff, who is like a senior VP in sports and brands, talking a class. Sherry, who is like the chief revenue officer for WSL, the World Surf League. So like you see all these women leaders in front of you, and like I really believe that if you can see it, you can be it. So I'm really, really grateful for that as well. And as it was mentioned, like many events that are really inspirational. And Velocity, we always have like so many amazing speakers. So that was it. I hope
Thank
my
you.
and we can go to the panel now.
Thank you so much, Barbara. I really appreciate you sharing all of that. I'm sure you inspired a lot of people here today.